For several years, I worked at an office building in the heart of the city for an online news and journalism company. My role as a web developer mostly involved ensuring that articles were published correctly on the website and that the site ran smoothly 24/7. Normally, we had an overnight worker, but when he suddenly quit, the company assigned me to cover the shift until they could find someone new. Initially, I didn't mind. How hard could it be? But I quickly realized how dreadful it was. I was the only one in the building overnight, with no one to talk to and little to do. The solitude was overwhelming. On this particular night, I was fortunate enough to have a small project to occupy my time, a simple task of adding a page to the website. It kept me busy for about an hour, but once I finished, I was back to just sitting and waiting. Boredom led me to get up, make a cup of coffee, and take a walk around the building. Curiosity got the better of me as I decided to explore floors and rooms I'd never ventured into before. I entered the stairwell and climbed to the top floor, where all the lights were off except for one in the hallway. I wandered down the hall, peering into a few rooms, but found nothing of interest. Just as I was about to head back to my office, I heard a sound from below, door creaking open. My heart skipped a beat, knowing I was alone in the building. I quickly rationalized that it was probably just the building settling or some pipe making noise, and calmed myself. Returning to the third floor, I walked down the hallway towards my office when something caught my eye. A door to one of the other rooms was open. I was certain it had been closed earlier. Unsure if my mind was playing tricks on me, I approached the door. The room was a large office, similar to mine, with rows of cubicles. The lights were off, and only a thin strip of light from the hallway illuminated the room. "Hello? Is someone in there?" I called out, but my voice echoed through the empty room with no reply. A chill ran down my spine. I quickly closed the door and returned to my office, trying to shake off the eerie feeling. I checked the time. It was just past 2 a.m. I only had a few more hours to get through. I tried to distract myself by scrolling through my emails, but my nerves were on edge. Then I heard it again, the same creaking sound, but this time it was unmistakably coming from somewhere on my floor. My heart raced as I stood up and cautiously opened the door to the hallway. The door across the hall was open again. My stomach tightened, and fear paralyzed me. Something was seriously wrong. Deciding it was time to leave, I hurried towards the stairs. As I did, I heard a footstep behind me. I quickly glanced back and saw a woman standing in the hallway, not far from the office I had just left. She looked disheveled, with tangled dark hair and wide, crazed eyes. Panic overtook me as I bolted down the stairs to the bottom floor. For a moment, I heard her footsteps following me, but then they stopped. Once I felt safe, I called the police. Strangely, despite having surveillance on both the front and back doors, they found no sign of the woman. No doors were unlocked or broken, and how she got in or out remained a mystery. In the following weeks, the company hired an overnight security guard, but the fear lingered. I constantly felt like she could reappear any moment. With no information on who she was or what she wanted, I was left terrified every night. Another strange event occurred a few years ago when I was struggling to find steady work. I took a job as a security guard at a large warehouse. The company had never hired a security guard before, so my job was to walk the perimeter and ensure no one broke in. I learned from one of the employees that there had been recent break-ins, which explained why they hired me. I should have been more concerned, but I figured my presence would be enough to deter any trouble. For the first 2 months, everything was quiet. I never saw anyone near the building, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The job was easy money. However, on a typical night, I came in at 11 p.m., locked up after all the employees had left, and checked the security cameras. I noticed a flag on one of the doors, indicating it wasn't shut or locked properly. Confused, as I had just locked everything up, I went to investigate. I found the door closed, but it swung open easily when I tried it. Inspecting it further, I found a small piece of wood lodged in the notch where the bolt should have locked. Someone had clearly placed it there to keep the door from locking. My nerves were on edge as I removed the wood and secured the door, wondering who could have done it. I found the door closed, but it swung open easily when I tried it. Inspecting it further, I found a small piece of wood lodged in the notch where the bolt should have locked. Someone had clearly placed it there to keep the door from locking. My nerves were on edge as I removed the wood and secured the door, wondering who could have done it. As I made my way back to the security office, an uneasy feeling washed over me. The warehouse was dark and quiet, with only dim lights casting long shadows. Just as I was about to reach the office, I saw movement by one of the storage racks. It was the shape of someone's head, peering around the corner. Fear gripped me, but I kept walking as if I hadn't seen anything. Once inside the office, I locked the door and called the police. my voice shaking with fear. I scanned the security footage and nearly jumped out of my seat when I saw a man standing right outside the office door, holding what appeared to be a weapon. My heart pounded as I watched him on the monitor, fearing he might break in. After a few tense minutes, he backed away and exited through the door I had just repaired, disappearing into the fields surrounding the warehouse. The police investigated, but nothing came of it. Shaken, I quit soon after and found a less stressful job. To this day, I have no idea why that man broke in or what he intended to do. Another unsettling experience happened when I was working at a small retail store. I hated the job, the work, customers, even some of my coworkers, but it was my first job, and I needed the money. Over winter break, my school was out for 3 weeks, so I was able to pick up some overnight shifts. I gladly accepted, thinking I'd be free from customers and able to work at my own pace. On my first overnight shift, the manager, Chris, showed me what needed to be done, and then left me to it. It was just the two of us, working on opposite ends of the store. First few hours were peaceful. I even enjoyed the solitude, but by 1 a.m., I was getting bored and sleepy. I let Chris know I was taking my break, grabbed my lunch from the break room, and sat in my car. As I ate, I noticed a man standing next to the building, looking into the windows. The parking lot was empty and dark, with only the store's lights illuminating the area. The man looked out of place, wearing a dark leather jacket and old boots. I kept an eye on him throughout my break, and he just stood there, peering into the windows. When it was time to clock back in, I hurried towards the front doors, hoping to slip by unnoticed. But halfway across the parking lot, the man noticed me. His eyes were dead and sleepless, his face expressionless. My gut told me to avoid him, so I ignored his attempt to call out to me and quickly locked the door behind me. I wasn't sure if I was being rude, but something about him felt off. I returned to the sales floor. Curiosity got the best of me, and I checked the windows again. The man was gone. I called out for Chris, but there was no response. Instead, I saw the man's head peeking around the corner at the end of the hallway. Panic surged through me. I ran back the way I came, not stopping until I was in my car. I called 911, realizing I had no idea where Chris was. The police arrived quickly, finding Chris unharmed in the manager's office. He had locked himself in after the man broke in and tried to force his way in. The thudding noises were the man pounding on the door. The man fled before the police arrived, and we never saw him again. His blurry image, captured on the security cameras, was posted in the break room as a warning to other employees. We never found out what he wanted that night, but I'm grateful my instincts told me to stay away.